Nation. Welcome to the Back to School edition of our Agents of Change series presented by State Farm and SAD. As young people head back to school this fall, we want to make sure that both teens and parents are equipped with the tips and knowledge they need to arrive home safely each day after classes and extracurricular activities conclude. We're thrilled to have an all-star panel with us today. Please join me in welcoming our Agents of Change. First up, Courtney Tyler, coming to us from Arizona.
Hi.
David Wong is here from California.
Hello.
Kelly Richards from Florida.
Hey.
Jennifer Johnson Nazareth from Pennsylvania is here with us.
Hi, everybody.
And from Maryland, Derek Elsey.
Hey, how are you?
Welcome, everyone. In this episode, we're talking about getting back to school safely. What are some top tips for young people to keep in mind as they get behind the wheel and make their way to and from school each day? Courtney, let's kick the conversation off with you.
Thanks, Bailey. Learning to drive is a rite of passage for most teens, but one that comes with increased responsibility. Motor vehicle crashes continue to be the leading cause of teen fatalities in the U.S., often due to inexperience and immaturity. With a set of keys in hand, teens often feel invincible, but it is necessary that they remain focused and implement the rules of the road, not only to and from school, but every time they get behind the wheel.
Courtney, I can't stress the importance of safety in the car, whether as a driver or as a passenger. You know, driving is a skill, just like shooting a basketball or cooking. The more practice you do, the better you'll be. And the consequences of not practicing can be deadly. You know, if you miss a championship shot in a game, you're going to lose a championship. And if you make a mistake while driving, well, you know, it's going to ruin your day. There's graduated driver's licensing in each state. There's this 3-stage approach to help young drivers get more experience. You can check with your local laws and also check the governor's highway safety guide.
Great points there, David. And those GDL laws are really helpful so that teen drivers can build up a level of experience that's important so that they are able to practice and become safe drivers. The level of risk increases significantly. It's at its highest with new drivers. So it's highly recommended that you plan ahead. Parents can also help with this. Before the school year begins, establish a safe route to and from school so that you have the opportunity to know what the traffic flow is like, maybe what, you know, where the lights are, stop signs and things like that, and then practice it. This is also true for walkers. Know the safe route, and we also recommend if you're a walker, don't walk alone.
Those are all great tips, Kelly. It's important to buckle up before you even put the car in drive. Did you guys know that buckling up can reduce fatal injury by 45%? Parents can set a great example, and you can really set the bar by requiring every passenger in every seat buckle up every time. On my lap, I've got Piper. She's our office dog, and she has her seatbelt on. She wears it in the car every time. She doesn't like it all the time, but she wears it every time.
And as your teens set out to drive to and from school each day, you want to ensure that clear expectations or consequences are set. So establish rules such as a curfew, rules on electronics, and how far they're allowed to travel. This is also a great opportunity to set a zero tolerance policy for drugs and alcohol use. So SAD's Contract for Life is a great resource and a great way to lay out the foundation for communication. You can actually sign in with your teen at sadd.org/contract for life.
Incredible information for both parents and teens agents. Thank you. There's a lot to be mindful of when driving to school, though. Agents, what do teens need to know for driving in school zones or around school buses?
There are clearly marked areas designed to keep children safe. Teens should always keep an eye out for signs and other indications of school zones, such as pavement markings, crosswalk barricades, and those crossing guards. When you see these, special attention should be paid to your surroundings.
Earlier, Kelly mentioned establishing a safe route. The more observant you are, the more prepared you'll be for anything that might come along. When I was 16, some friends asked me to take them to a video arcade. Yes, you might have to look up what that is, but I was driving there and they pointed out a parking spot and I turned right to go to it and hit a car that was oncoming. You know, later I learned from this and I had a first date with this beautiful girl. And, you know, I took the route before picking her up. I went and I drove the route, noticed where to park and all of that. And that way I could focus on conversation with her. And it worked, I guess, because we ended up getting married.
Thanks for sharing that story, David. That's great. Did you also know that it's illegal in all 50 states to pass a stopped school bus that has its lights on and the stop sign extended? So if you're driving in or around a school zone with those markers that Courtney talked about earlier, be alert that it's more likely that a bus could be in the area and you may need to stop. Be sure that you're yielding and giving pedestrians and buses the right of way at all times. And I don't have my office dog Tucker here with me, but I did take a picture of him here modeling how to safely stop in front of a school bus and allow the kids to get it off and on and not pass until they're by. So thanks,
Kelly. Tucker is so cute and he's modeling exactly what to do in a school zone the right way. You know, it's also important to touch on those school zone safety speed limits. They're much lower in a school zone because there's a lot more traffic, pedestrian traffic to be exact. And that higher pedestrian traffic is because there's lots of kids, there are lots of different ages, and they have lots of different experience. You just never know who's going to show up in the pedestrian zone. And look, there's Jake from State Farm.
And there are countless skills and scenarios that new drivers should go out of their way to learn. And driving in school zones is one of them. With time and practice comes familiarity and comfort with these driving scenarios. Now, you do want to keep in mind that there are potential fines on the line for breaking traffic laws within school zones. So slow down, pay attention, and prioritize the safety of students as they travel to and from school.
I couldn't agree more with your expertise, agents. Another responsibility of driving is ensuring that when you put that key in the ignition, the vehicle will be in tip-top shape to travel. Let's discuss some simple things that parents can instruct their teens to do to minimize the risk of crashes or breakdowns as they make their way to and from class.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be late to school, right? Let's say you're walking out the door, you're going to hit Dutch before you head to school, and when you get to your vehicle, you notice you have a flat tire. What do? Parents, teach your teen how to change a tire. Make sure they know where the spare tire is located. Go through the steps with them on how to operate a jack, where to find the jack in the car, remove the old tire, get the lug nuts off, and install the spare. With practice, your teen will feel more comfortable and confident if the situation of a flat tire ever presents itself.
And preventative maintenance is so important to catch issues before they happen. I'll share a story with you. I hope you don't learn from, or that you do learn from my experience, but I hope you don't learn it yourself. So I was taking a trip with my family down to Disneyland of all places, and there's a long stretch of road, and my car's engine blew out. I didn't check the oil. It ran low on oil, and we sat on the side of the road for 3 hours. And you know, to make it all worse is once we got the repair bill, the engine blew, so it was over $1,000. So learn from me and try not to learn on your own. Make sure you do your preventative maintenance.
Wow, I hope you made it to Disneyland, David. But general maintenance and cleanliness isn't just something that's nice to do, and it's not just about comfort. It's also about safety. So this is definitely an extreme example, but you see this really muddy car? It's hard to imagine that this person can really even see where they're going and what their surroundings are like so that they can drive safely. So wash your car when it needs to be washed. And again, not just because you want to look good, but because it's for safety as well. Also, keeping your oil change, just like David mentioned earlier, is really important for the maintenance of your car and to avoid accidents or even other potential safety concerns being on the side of the road. Oil changes need to happen every 5,000 to 7,500 miles. Also check your washer fluid at least every 3 months, and your wipers about every 6 months to be sure, again, that you can see where you're going and what's around you.
You know, that's another key point, is that you've got to have a situation where sometimes you go out to the car and it just won't start. Chances are the battery is dead, and it's important to have a great set of jumper cables. Now, this can be a scary thing to think about hooking up to the car, and parents, it's your job to equip the teen's car with these, but kids, it's your job to know how to use them and practice beforehand. So a couple things to run through. How do you unhook your hood from the car? That's a key thing to learn how to do. And secondly, where do you hook these up? So the red's gonna go to the positive and the black's gonna go to the negative, but there's lots of stuff to learn, and it's important to run through it ahead of time so that you're prepared when it happens, and that you've got the expertise.
And Jennifer, that's a great segue into just be prepared for anything, right? So keep an emergency kit in your car. In this kit, you'll want to include things like water, food, medical supplies, blankets, and I'd even recommend a phone charger. Now, you can actually even level up your emergency kit by adding things like garbage bags or toilet paper, paper towels, a gas can, like Jennifer said, jumper cables, and maybe even a tow line. And depending on the weather, you may want to adjust your emergency kits to meet your needs. So also think of winter and summer months.
As always, panelists, you've given us a lot to think about today. As we wrap up, I'd be curious, what's one piece of advice you would give to teen drivers to help them get back to school safely?
I would say, as soon as you get in the car, turn your phone on silent. That way you're not going to be distracted by any notifications that might be going on while you're driving. Put it out of sight and out of mind.
I would say young drivers, don't succumb to peer pressure, like showing your office dog on a video conference. I'm just kidding. But peer pressure and emotion. Your friends might ask you to drive faster or race, and that can cause problems. Or road rage. If someone cuts you off and you respond to them, it's very dangerous to somebody you don't even know. Just let it go. I know it's easier said than done.
I don't think it hurts to reiterate what Courtney said about setting the phone aside. Just put it away. Whatever it is can wait till you get to your next destination. But I also want to recommend that you not expect that everyone's going to do the right thing when they're driving. In other words, just because somebody has their blinker on doesn't mean that they're going to turn, or that they're not going to turn, that they are going to turn, when they have their blinker on. Just be aware, understand that sometimes people make mistakes, and don't expect everybody on the road to do the right thing.
My advice is that there's no rewind in real life. You can't simply hit the rewind button when something goes wrong or there's an accident. So being present in the moment to make good choices is the most critical thing. Your ability to be present is so, so important. No peer pressure, no phones, no eating, no loud music, all that stuff. I know it's fun, but again, no rewind in real life. Stay present.
And here's the thing too, nobody wants to have an accident, but chances are some of you will, right? So whether it's severe or something small like a fender bender at the grocery store, I just would advise you to call the cops, get that incident report, because that document could be the decision between something being covered or potentially not.
These are incredible tips all around, agents. I again want to thank our esteemed panel from State Farm, and of course, you, SAD Nation, our followers, for helping us share the rules of the road as teens head back to school this fall. That's all the time we have for now. Be safe every trip, every time. Until